Hello everyone and welcome to Art Chat. I'm resident Marge Lee and today we're in Solana talking with artisan Gary Reynolds. Welcome to Art Chat, Gary.
Thank you, Marge.
Well, you do some very intricate, unusual woodwork, but we're going to start at the beginning here.
Okay, sounds like a good idea.
We're going to start with these wonderful boxes. Tell us about that.
Okay, well, when we first came to Shell Point about 4.5 years ago, I had never done any woodworking, but I had certainly been something that I had admired in others. And so I went over to the wood shop and introduced myself and was welcomed as everyone is at the wood shop. And the shop supervisor at that time, Phil Nadal, suggested that I begin making boxes. He says, if you can learn to make a good box, then everything else from that point on will be much easier. We needed some end tables to go next to our chairs, so I made a pair of cherry end tables in the basic, shaker style. And then after that, I made a console for our television and some of our items that we've collected over the years. And then my most recent endeavor in the furniture aspect was we decided we wanted a drop leaf table.
This is beautiful. What kind of wood is this?
This is also red oak.
Ah, pretty.
Here are a couple of examples of my first attempts to be creative, something that was non-functional but just artistic. And I'm known as the scrap guy over in which is the first thing I do every day as I go look in the scrap boxes where other people throw away their unused wood. And all of both sets of these are angels, and they were made from scraps that I retrieved from the scrap box. This one was the first one that I made, and I don't know if you can visualize it, but the curve to this was actually where someone was cutting out a rocker to go on a chair, and this was the scrap that they had left over and threw away.
I see it now.
And I was just fascinated with the angle, the curvature of that. So I took it, kept it for several months, and finally one day I woke up and said, that would be an angel.
Tell us what's unusual about that.
Okay, well, this box has a curved front to it. And that's done by steam bending the wood. You take sections of wood, put them in a box that has a steam generator, soften the wood with the steam, and then put it into a form with clamps and let it cool down overnight. And then you incorporate the bent wood into a box. And this is a jewelry box. And here we have a display shelf, and the sides were placed in a large mold after the wood was steamed and allowed to cool, and then I created the shelves to go in across to combine the two, and it turned out to be a nice curio display.
That's really wonderful. Now we're going to start talking about a technique you were really getting into right now, and let's start with this wonderful, wonderful clock. Tell people what they're looking at here.
Okay. Well, once again, this was a piece of scrap wood that I found in the wood bin. It's mahogany. It had been discarded because it had a crack here, and then in this portion there was some decay and wood missing, and in this portion of it here. So I took this and then started developing or refining a technique of inlaying crushed stone. And what I did, everywhere you see the colors here was where there was just a void in the wood, and I filled it with mother of pearl, which is the white. And then the red areas around that is crushed red coral.
That's amazing.
And you simply fill the voids, you fix it with a glue, and then after it's cured, you just do a lot of sanding and a lot of polishing to bring out the finish in the stone. So this was again a piece of cherry wood that had a knot hole that had fallen out, and the defect sort of radiated out from this central portion. So I took a large turquoise stone and put it in the center, and then progressively smaller pieces of turquoise stone around it. and then again a lot of sanding and polishing, and it's smooth with the surface now. So
That's amazing.
this is a box made of cherry, and the top is what was my inspiration and the start of the whole project. I found this piece that still had the bark on the surface, but there were lots of voids and defects in the surface of the box. So I essentially went through and filled all of those with varying size turquoise stones, and then built a box to match, cut it out to be the same shape as the top. But the top is what dictated the entire project.
Really beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
And I want to end on my favorite piece here, which is extremely intricate. You know which one it is. Lead us to that one.
Okay, it's right over here. And this is an inlay of a sea fan. And the first step was to create the engraving. And we can talk about how that's done, but create that. And then each of the little portions of the engraving is filled one dot at a time with a very fine mother of pearl stone. And then I made a walnut frame around it and also incorporated a turquoise stone inlay into the frame. There is one other project that I would love to show you, but unfortunately it was a commissioned work, but it was a seahorse. I filled it with various shades of turquoise and some green stone and mother of pearl, and the spines on the seahorse are highlighted with a red jasper stone. So I'm really proud of it. It really turned out well.
That is amazing. And you know, I know that our residents would love to see how you do this. So let's go to the wood shop.
Okay.
So Gary, tell us a little bit about how this happens.
Okay, well this is our CNC machine, a CNC router, and it basically takes a graphic image and the software converts it into messages that go to the CNC router. It engraves the image, and then we take that engraving and go to the workbench and fill it with stone.
So let's do that now.
Okay.
So Gary, here we are at the bench, and I'm first seeing all these little packets. What is this?
Okay, these are actually crushed stones of various shades and colors. As you can see, there's a malachite green and some red coral and different shades of turquoise and some yellow stone. And these are what I mix and match to actually use like you would a paint to actually make the engraving.
And can you show us how to do that?
Sure. This is an engraving that we did on the CNC machine. It's one of my nativity stars.
Oh, that's beautiful. Okay.
And so it's something I want to inlay with mother of pearl and then
incorporate
into my inlays. And so the first thing I'll do is get some, this is some medium coarse mother of pearl.
Oh my gosh.
You try to get everything in the engraving, but it's not an absolute, because there will be lots of sanding and polishing that occurs after the fact. And then this is a very thin, super thin, it's called cyanoacrylate or CA glue. It's your basic super glue, except that this is a very thin, watery formula. And I use this to put in. And as you can see, it just wicks
Look at
right
that.
down into the mother of pearl. And in about 30 seconds, that will be cured and hard. And I would build the whole thing up and then start sanding and polishing. And once I had it where I wanted it smooth, then I would finish it with a sealer or polyurethane, and it's ready to go.
Quite a process. And I want to end on one of your products that utilizes this. It's behind us. It's the wonderful nativity. I know that's a wonderful way to end here at Shell Point.
Yes.
And you said this is quite popular here.
Yes, these are very popular at our art shows. And again, it starts with finding the appropriate scraps, but these pieces of wood like this are from our wood turners, and they have gone in and cut out a cylinder or a piece to put on the
Like a
lathe and
bowl or
turn,
something.
and this is what they toss away.
Uh-huh.
So I find a piece like this and find a suitable base,
Perfect.
and then I go through finishing and staining. I find a piece of wood that I can use to engrave the actual nativity figures, which I've done here.
They are.
And you can see there's the classic nativity scene there, and again the stars like we were just making are incorporated there.
So thank you for being a star for us today.
Oh, well, thank you.
We're delighted to have you on Art Chat.
Thank you.
And thanks to all of you for joining us. We'll see you again soon on another Art Chat. Bye-bye.